So when all this dust settled, all the money that we could have looked at, in your perspective, I would be looking at now as waste, because if I had that, didn't have the van or whatever, or didn't use some funds, and we traveled and did everything as minimally as possible, and that's all in the book. So there's no waste. There's never any waste. But you could say, well, you didn't need to go on a trip. You didn't need to expand your children's horizons. You didn't need to have these experiences helping to make a heightened conscious and make your world go that way. No, you didn't need to. But what I'm saying is, that's why I started in the video before, everything's about heightened conscious. Everything's about the whole global picture. Everything's about balance. And the tools you give yourself by having the ability to do perspective counseling is to not bring yourself down when you see everything as a mistake, when it's not necessarily a mistake, it's just a setback or another path you could travel to go where you're ultimately going. So it's very important for you to realize that when I talk to you, if I wasn't who I was, these things would have broken us. I could have looked at them all as negatives. Let me continue on with our misfortune. There's a light at the end of the tunnel, but we sure did never see it for most of our life. And still now, I would say to you, there's so far we have to go, and I'll get to that at the end. I think I'm going to do this no, I can't do it in 2 videos. We have to still do 3 videos, because there's a lot more information that you've actually asked for, and I got to give it to you. So, what did we do at that critical time after that trip? Our children were still children, but getting older. We took our last gasp and gave up everything we had to make a move to California and buy a mobile home. I'm not even going to tell you some of the private details of other things about my life that I don't want out there, but it all goes in the same vein. This is under go where opportunity is. Now, my whole life, my father was reticent and shy, and I only saw that he was a creative draftsman, not even an artist like myself. I still can't relate to him on the level of any kind of an art type mentality. My mother, no. My brothers, no. This has taken me in a whole other direction, this art thing. And it's responsible, ultimately, I think, for the cherry on the top of the whole perspective of who I am and what I'm trying to do now. So California didn't get a very big hit. East Coast money's not worth anything over here. But it got enough of a hit, because we have no pride. That's another thing. We have no pride. It got enough of a hit to where we could just barely afford, with help and a mortgage, to take everything we have and get rid of it and buy a mobile home in a crappy little village. We did. So we moved across the country. Now, over here, we couldn't have health insurance for the kids over there or anything like that. Over here, they had basic things in place where you could get basic. We went to really basic stuff. Oh, by the way, my mentality is affected by I'm always with the lowest people in the world. Because my artist income is always so low, I'm always surrounded by all those that are higher up looked down at. They're negative, they're rapists, they're thieves and scoundrels and people that want to lob onto the system. No, they're hardworking people that could do a lot if we'd invested them. And they've built our country, and they still are, but they're villainized. And I don't want to go there in this video, but I've always been in there with them. That's with the hospitals and the caregivers I've had to go to because I couldn't afford anything better. I've always done everything I can to be an upstanding citizen, a conscious person, even doing right by the banks. And if you want to read more about those kinds of things, you can read it in the book. But doing those things carries with it a price, and we're aware, we're conscious of the price. Well, it's about honor. I've raised my children about honor. I told my children, you can't do anything wrong. All you can do is just simply realize, if you live by Jesus' teachings of the highest commandment, of doing unto others in love through his teachings, through your brothers and your sisters, whether they're believers or not even, the way you'd want done unto you in love, that's all you have to do. You don't, it doesn't make any, if you make a mistake or you even do what you think is wrong, if you can't put it under the umbrella of that making it wrong, being dishonorable, doing not that you wouldn't want done unto you, you have not made a mistake. You've not done anything wrong. Whatever pathway your life takes you, no matter how well off you are in the eyes of man and the success of the world, you're still a success even if you are a failure in the eyes of the world. Look at my video, The Biggest Failure. Maybe I'll put a link on it. In the eyes of the world, I'm nothing. Absolutely nothing. Again, you ever watch Count of Monte Cristo? He sees this guy dig up through his cell and says, "Oh, I dug in the wrong direction." He started to teach him. He was a priest, I guess. And he said one of the greatest first lessons he taught was their neglect is our fortune or our strength, because they don't come around and check on us. We can do whatever we want because they're in these regimented, foolish consistency is a hobgoblin of little minds. They're in these regimented ways of being, and we can work around that. We can find the best way to do that. So they started to plan and dig and all these other things. And he learned how to fence and how learnedness, reading, scholarly, everything scholarly that the priest could give him. Well, my point is, this is what I've been doing the whole time. This is where the heightened conscious comes from. Nobody pays any attention to me. I've been working on this particular channel that we're talking on now for about 1.5 years. And, oh, congratulations, you're my 11th subscriber. Nobody cares about anything honorable or good or decent. But I'm telling you how we've structured a life. And what's the most important experience? All these other details I'm going to continue on the next video. The most important thing I can share with you is that the way, the approach, not the what's, but the why and the way. That's the most important part. I'm going to go on with more details now. I laid out in the other things, a lot of the things. I'm going to finalize with where I'm at now. So ultimately, because we bought and gave up everything to buy this one little mobile home, we did smart thing. We bought the one mobile home. Usually they say don't buy the best in the community because you're a white elephant. But in this case, we bought the one best thing. New home, even though it was a mobile home. Trailer. Let's roll in there. View, dead-end street. When the small hit that California took was erased, and we realized there was no hope for the community. We were leaders in the community by that time, and we were trying to help them, but they were broken, and people were trying to use it for their own selfish means. People on the board and such like that, so that they could push everybody down and kick them out, so that they could come in and invest and make their own money. And they all had different agendas, and they thought I could be corrupted, but they were wrong. So I have another video on that too, if you want me to put a link to that. What we did was finally said, as much as we want to help and lead and serve, these people, most of them, they're in charge. They've got to be taken out. The community has to have a chance before we leave. And we saw too that that happened, or at least they had the chance to have a new fresh start. And I still haven't gloated over or even told them what I did. I just left them with that chance, and we'll see what they do with it. Okay? It's refreshed. It's new. But we sold at the time that was reaching its fever pitch, and the prices were higher. We made money, but not enough money to make a difference. Only enough money to buy a house. That's it. Another house that isn't in that community as a mobile home. That's all. Still, best value around. Total fixer-upper. Hasn't been touched since the 70s. Whatever. But again, we're back now. Right now, as I sit here and talk to you, we're 20 years, maybe 25 years behind. We're back where we were before. We moved to the other coast. We're back to where we were before. There's no money, only owning a house that isn't even fully owned. There's nothing that I can brag about. But I'm sitting here doing my work so that I can do this for no cost, so that my life purpose will be fulfilled. Again, I say to you, the same thing I'm trying to teach my children. Honor, perspective is everything. if you take and you look at every mistake you've made from this day forth as only perspective, then you can have that same thing too. If you live for honor, if you live for the number one commandment, if your wife and you can vow together to do that, what you do will also lead you in the same way, even at this age that I've been led. Now, we're going to have some difficult circumstances. Everything I'm saying right now will not ever go away. It'll always be there, no matter what happens tomorrow. I could be dead in a couple of months. We could be in bad shape. There could be looting and rioting. There could be battles and wars. Right in the middle of all this, there could be another earthquake or another major disaster. That doesn't stop. But no matter what happens tomorrow, these things that I'm talking about now will go on. And yours will too. What I want to do is help you to transform what your thing is so that it's going on in a positive nature. Okay? That's all that matters. It may take you 10 years to work on your plan of getting out of debt, paying off that motorcycle, and getting back to where you're solvent. Or you may have to throw the whole thing away. You might lose your job. The whole thing you might have to do the bankruptcy, okay? But what I'm saying is, no matter what you restructure your life like, you will fail if you don't understand the value of the perspective that's lying behind it all. And you continue to think of yourself in this horrible place because of your failures, rather than this huge place of what you can be. You'll fail. Go back to the Batman video. I said the same things, but I'm doing it more in a financial way now. You've got to understand what I'm talking about isn't about the devil in the details. It's not about the financial decisions, fortune, mistakes, smart moves. It's not about anything that you're going to read in the books. It's about what I talk about. It's about the perspective. Everything's built on the rock. It's very important for you to realize that. Let me go over my card, make sure we've covered the things that I knew I wanted to cover about my own experience. And I tried to leave out actual financial details as much as possible. A lot of this is covered in a book without numbers. So what you've learned in the past should now be serving you. You say it's not because you would have liked to have that money and not made those mistakes and have it be serving you. But you can transform your mistakes into a learning experience if you can shed off this idea that you're low and a lesser person and that it was a mistake. If you can transform your perspective into it's all a learning tool that will take you a while to erase. If you can do that instantaneously at this exact moment in time, you can be right where I'm at. But that doesn't mean you're financially where I'm at, but in some ways it is, because I'm not ahead. I had no money. But what you could do is you could make it where your whole life isn't bringing you down all the time. I noticed one of your page things, you said, you're going to look at this new year in a new way. Guess what? I don't know what you thought that was going to be. Obviously it didn't work because you're still talking to me. Hey, this is the new way that you look at this new year.